High Admiral Zextral of the Draconid Empire stood on the observation deck of the Imperial command vessel, Eternal Dawn, his scaled fingers tapping rhythmically against the crystalline viewport. Before him hung a blue-green world, unremarkable save for one detail that made his scientific council nervous. Its gravity was 2.3 times higher than the galactic standard. Impossible, he muttered, reviewing the sensor data for the 12th time. No intelligent species could evolve in such conditions. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Radio signals, artificial satellites, and the unmistakable signs of civilization dotted the planet's surface. The science minister, Valthera, approached with characteristic caution. Her ceremonial robes, designed for the standard 0.8G environments of civilized worlds, dragged slightly in the ship's artificial gravity. High Admiral, we've completed our preliminary analysis of the species calling themselves humans. Zextral's head crest flared with interest. Show me. The holographic display materialized between them, showing various human activities. Vehicles moving at reckless speeds, structures reaching impossibly high into the sky, and most disturbing of all, humans engaging in what appeared to be recreational activities in their crushing gravity. They're either insane or stupid, Valthera declared, her scales shifting color with academic excitement. Look at this. They deliberately jump from high places with primitive fabric devices for entertainment. They lift heavy objects repeatedly for no practical purpose. They appear to have no understanding of proper gravitational safety protocols. Zextral watched as the display showed humans running, actually running, across their planet's surface. How did they achieve spaceflight? Their primitive technology shouldn't function under such conditions. That's the fascinating part, Valthera replied, bringing up technical schematics. They've developed their technology to work with their gravity rather than against it. It's crude, inefficient, but... She hesitated, effective. The High Admiral's crest flattened, a sign of disapproval. The Empire cannot allow such dangerous development to continue. These humans, living in these conditions, could become a serious threat if they ever achieve proper space travel. With respect, High Admiral, Valthera interjected, they already have primitive space vessels. They've even landed on their moon and sent basic probes to neighboring planets. Zextral's eyes narrowed. In that gravity? Impossible. Show me their propulsion systems. The schematics changed, displaying what looked to the advanced Draconids like ancient technology. Chemical rockets, primitive nuclear power, and combustion engines. Yet somehow, these humans had managed to break free of their planet's crushing embrace. The Council of Elders must be informed, Zextral decided. This species, these humans, they represent an unacceptable anomaly. If they can achieve space flight in such conditions, imagine what they might accomplish if they obtained our technology. Valthera's scales rippled with concern. Are you suggesting intervention? The Empire has never encountered a high-gravity civilization before. Our standard protocols may not dash. Our standard protocols were designed for civilized species, Zextral interrupted. Species that evolved in proper conditions. These humans are clearly aberrations. We cannot risk them becoming a threat to galactic stability. He turned back to the viewport, watching the blue world rotate slowly below. Somewhere down there, billions of humans went about their lives, unaware they were being observed, unaware their very existence violated everything the Draconid Empire believed about civilized development. Prepare a full invasion assessment, he commanded. I want to know every weakness, every vulnerability. We'll need to modify our equipment for their gravity, but it shouldn't be too difficult. After all, he added with a dismissive wave of his hand, how dangerous can they be? They're practically savages. Valthera began to respond, but stopped as new data flowed across her tablet. High Admiral, you should see this. They appear to be conducting what they call military exercises. The forces involved, the speeds they achieve, the weights they manage to move. Zextral watched the footage with growing unease. Humans in powered armor-lifting vehicles, running at speeds that would shatter Draconid bones, operating machines that seemed to defy the very gravity they evolved under. Update the invasion plans, he ordered quietly. We'll need more ships. As the eternal dawn continued its silent observation, humanity remained unaware of the gathering storm. But they were about to teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating species that evolved on what the Empire called death worlds, and the Empire was about to learn why high-gravity worlds produced the most dangerous survivors in the galaxy. The Imperial Research Station, Horizon's Edge, floated in the dark space beyond Mars, its stealth systems making it virtually invisible to Earth's primitive detection methods. Inside, frustration had reached a breaking point. Chief Engineer Kralvor hurled his data pad across the laboratory, watching it float gracefully in the station's minimal gravity. Another probe lost. That's the 7th this week. His assistant, tech specialist Mirathal, retrieved the floating device. The human's gravity well is proving more challenging than anticipated. Our standard equipment simply wasn't designed for these conditions. The laboratory walls displayed real-time feeds from their remaining surveillance probes. Each screen showed a different aspect of human military capability, and none of it made sense to the Draconid observers. Look at this, Mirathal pointed to one screen showing a human military exercise. They're carrying equipment that weighs nearly half their body mass, running for what they call miles, and then engaging in combat simulations. In that gravity, Kralvor's scales darkened with concern. The High Admiral expects us to have invasion-ready equipment within 2 lunar cycles. How are we supposed to modify our entire arsenal when we can barely keep observation probes functioning? On another screen, a human athletic event displayed what the Draconids considered impossible feats. Humans launching themselves over bars, throwing heavy objects incredible distances, sprinting at speeds that would shatter Draconid bones. We've had to redesign every servo motor, every joint mechanism, Kralvor continued, bringing up the schematics for their combat suits. The energy requirements alone are astronomical. Our troops will be wearing small power plants just to move. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity had not remained as oblivious as the Draconids believed. At NORAD's Deep Space Monitoring Facility, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her radar data with growing concern. "General Williams," she called out, "you need to see this." The general approached her station, coffee in hand. "What have you got, Doctor?" "Something's wrong with our orbital debris tracking system. We're detecting occasional anomalies, objects that appear for a moment then vanish. But here's the interesting part." She pulled up a mathematical model. "They're moving against the gravitational gradient in ways that shouldn't be possible with known technology." Williams studied the data, his expression grim. "How long has this been happening?" "The pattern emerged about 3 months ago. At first, we thought it was equipment malfunction, but I've confirmed similar readings from facilities in China, Russia, and the European Space Agency." Across the room, Captain Rodriguez called out, "Sir, we've lost another satellite." Same pattern as the others, complete systems failure followed by what looks like crushing. The general set down his coffee. "Get me the Joint Chiefs." Now, back on the Horizon's Edge, Kralvor's team made a breakthrough of sorts. "If we modify our shield generators to create a localized gravity field," he explained to the holographic image of High Admiral Zextral, "our troops should be able to function in Earth's gravity. The power consumption is enormous, but whatever it takes," Zextral interrupted. "The Council of Elders has approved the invasion. They agree these humans must be contained before they discover FTL travel. Imagine creatures like these loose in the galaxy, adapted to conditions that would kill civilized species." Mirathal spoke up, her usual deference overcome by scientific concern. "High Admiral, with respect, we're seeing things in their military exercises that concern us. Their soldiers demonstrate physical capabilities that rival our powered armor systems, and that's their baseline." "All the more reason to proceed quickly," Zextral replied. "Before they advance any further, the invasion fleet will arrive within the month. Be ready." As the transmission ended, Kralvor turned to his team. "Double-check everything. Triple-check the gravity compensation systems. If we've miscalculated even slightly." He left the thought unfinished, but everyone knew what he meant. They'd all seen the footage of what happened to their equipment under Earth's normal gravity. On Earth, the world's military leaders gathered in emergency session. General Williams stood before them, presenting the evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone, and whoever's up there is very interested in us. They're losing equipment in our gravity well, which suggests they're not used to operating in our conditions. That gives us an advantage, but also tells us something crucial. They're planning to come down here. The Chinese general, Liu Wei, leaned forward. You believe this is preparation for invasion? Would you announce yourself if you were planning a friendly visit? Williams countered. We need to prepare, but quietly. Whatever's coming, our gravity is our ally. Let's use that. As humanity quietly began its preparations, neither side fully understood what was coming. The Draconids couldn't comprehend the true capabilities of beings evolved under high gravity, and humanity had no idea how desperate the Empire was to contain what they saw as a potential threat to galactic civilization. The stage was set for a clash between two fundamentally different approaches to the universe, one that feared and fought against gravity, and one that had made it their oldest friend. The first signs of the invasion weren't dramatic explosions or massive ships darkening the sky. Instead, it began with a subtle change in Earth's gravity that only the most sensitive scientific instruments detected. Dr. Sarachan burst into General Williams' office at 0300 hours. Sir, gravitational anomalies are appearing worldwide. They're here. The general was already awake, studying real-time satellite feeds. How many? We're detecting over 300 large masses entering the atmosphere, all using some kind of gravity manipulation technology to slow their descent. But sir, she paused, double-checking her tablet. Something's wrong with their approach vectors. They're fighting against Earth's gravity instead of working with it. High above, aboard the Draconid command ship Eternal Dawn, High Admiral Zextral watched the first wave of drop pods descend. Each contained 20 of the Empire's finest warriors, equipped with the latest gravity-compensating battle suits. Status report, he commanded. Valthera, monitoring the deployment, responded with growing concern. Drop pods are experiencing 47% more gravitational stress than calculated. Shield generators are operating at 183% of recommended capacity. Acceptable losses. Proceed with the deployment. The first wave of pods struck Earth's surface across multiple continents. In seconds, the galaxy's most advanced infantry troops discovered that theoretical calculations were poor preparation for Earth's reality. Near Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Master Sergeant Jack Martinez and his Special Forces team watched from concealed positions as the alien pod crashed into a clearing. Their orders were simple: observe and report. The pod's door exploded outward, and armored figures emerged. Their movements were jerky, mechanical, as if they were fighting their own suits. One tried to raise its weapon and nearly fell over. Martinez keyed his radio. Command, are you seeing this? They can barely move. In Beijing, Colonel Wei Sun's mechanized infantry division watched a similar scene unfold. The aliens' advanced technology seemed to be working against them, their powered armor struggling against Earth's pull while using enormous amounts of energy to keep them upright. Back on the Eternal Dawn, alarms blared. Valthera's scales had turned pale. High Admiral, we're losing contact with ground forces. Their power systems are failing faster than predicted. Zextral's crest flattened in rage. Impossible. We calculated everything. Sir, a junior officer interrupted. Human military forces are mobilizing worldwide, but they're not using powered assistance. They're moving under their own power at speeds our troops can't match in these conditions. On the ground, the Draconid invasion force was discovering that all their technological advantages meant little against millions of years of evolution. Their weapons, designed for standard gravity, pulled their aim off. Their movements, normally swift and precise, became sluggish and clumsy. Near Moscow, a Russian tank battalion engaged a group of Draconid warriors. The aliens' energy shields flickered and died as their power systems overloaded, trying to compensate for the constant gravitational strain. They're like turtles on their backs, one Russian gunner commented, watching the armored aliens struggle to maneuver. In orbit, Zextral faced a decision. Launch the second wave. Add auxiliary power units to their suits. Valthera protested, "Sir, the human militaries are already adapting to our tactics. They're using their natural mobility advantage dash. Launch them," he roared. "We cannot fail." The Empire does not fail. The second wave dropped, their pods streaking across Earth's sky like artificial meteors. This time, humanity was ready. At Fort Bragg, Martinez's team had been joined by regular infantry units. They watched the new pods land, but instead of immediately engaging, they waited. "Let gravity do the work," Martinez ordered. The enhanced alien suits, carrying even more power generation equipment, proved even more unwieldy. Several warriors fell simply trying to exit their pods, their automated stability systems overwhelmed by the complex interactions between their technology and Earth's pull. In orbit, the situation deteriorated further. Valthera's voice shook as she reported, "Sir, the humans, they're not just fighting back. They're studying us. Learning. Every engagement, they're adapting their tactics to exploit our weaknesses." A tactical display showed human forces worldwide using simple but devastating strategies. They attacked from higher ground, forcing the Draconid troops to fight gravity and combat simultaneously. They used their superior mobility to outflank and isolate alien units. Most dramatically, they had already captured several pieces of Draconid technology. "High Admiral," Valthera said quietly, "we need to consider withdrawal. Our troops are being defeated not by superior technology or numbers, but by the simple fact that the humans are adapted to these conditions. We're watching millions of years of evolution trump our technology." Zextral stared at the tactical displays, his proud posture finally showing signs of doubt. The humans weren't just surviving in their death world, gravity, they were thriving in it, turning it into a weapon more effective than any in the Empire's arsenal. And this was only the beginning. The real counterattack hadn't even started yet. General Williams stood in the Pentagon's war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the global battlefield. Each red represented a stranded or captured Draconid unit. The map was getting very red. "Ladies and gentlemen," he addressed the Joint Chiefs and international military commanders present via secure video link. "We've confirmed what our initial assessments suggested. The aliens' greatest weakness isn't their technology, it's their fundamental misunderstanding of how to operate in our gravity." Dr. Chin stepped forward, now wearing a military consultant's uniform. "We've analyzed their captured equipment. Their entire technological approach is based on fighting against gravity rather than working with it. Every system they have is designed to negate or reduce gravitational effects." In the field, this fundamental difference was becoming increasingly apparent. Near the Rocky Mountains, U.S. Army Rangers moved silently through difficult terrain that had completely stalled the alien advance. The Draconid troops, despite their powered armor, couldn't handle the combination of elevation, rough terrain, and Earth's gravity. Captain Emily Rodriguez, leading a Ranger platoon, watched through binoculars as another alien unit struggled to maintain position on a steep slope. Their energy-hungry gravity compensators flickered constantly. "Like watching someone try to swim without ever having been in water," she muttered. Into her radio, she commanded, "All units, prepare to execute Operation Newton." Across the battlefield, human forces began implementing new tactics specifically designed to exploit the aliens' gravitational weaknesses. In Japan, Special Forces units used the urban environment of Tokyo to devastating effect, forcing the Draconids to constantly shift their gravity compensation between horizontal and vertical movements. The alien troops, trained for combat in standard gravity, found themselves unable to cope with the three-dimensional warfare humans had mastered over centuries of fighting in Earth's gravity. Every stairwell became a death trap, every elevation change a tactical nightmare. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, High Admiral Zextral watched in growing horror as his invasion force was systematically dismantled by what he had dismissed as a primitive species. "How?" he demanded, his crest fully flattened in distress. "How are they doing this?" Valthera, who had been analyzing combat footage, responded quietly, "They're not doing anything special, High Admiral. They're simply fighting the way they always have. We're the ones trying to change the rules of their world." A massive explosion rocked the ship. Valthera checked her instruments and paled. Sir, the humans, they've adapted our gravity compensation technology. They're using it as a weapon. On Earth, Dr. Chin stood in a hastily assembled laboratory, surrounded by captured alien tech. We don't need to understand all of it, she explained to General Williams. We just need to reverse the process. Instead of fighting gravity, we're amplifying it. The results were devastating. Human forces deployed modified alien gravity generators to create localized zones of intense gravitational force. The already struggling Draconid troops found their compensation systems completely overwhelmed. In orbit, more alarms blared. Sir, a junior officer reported, human forces have breached our ground bases. They're using our own ships against us. The tactical displays told the story. Human soldiers, already adapted to high gravity, had captured several Draconid vessels. Instead of struggling with the ship's artificial gravity systems, they'd simply turned them off, giving themselves another advantage over the gravity-dependent invaders. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over a captured Draconid communication channel. This is humanity's formal response to your invasion. Welcome to our gravity well. Enjoy your stay. Zextral watched as another orbital facility went dark, captured by human forces moving with what seemed to him like impossible speed and strength. The Empire's greatest advantage, its technology, had become its greatest liability in Earth's crushing embrace. Begin emergency evacuation, he finally ordered, his voice hollow. Get our remaining troops out before. Another explosion rocked the ship. Valthera checked the sensors and laughed, a sound of both fear and admiration. Sir, the humans aren't letting us leave. They're using our gravity technology to create a net around the planet. We can't break free without destroying our ships. The High Admiral stared at the blue planet below, finally understanding what his empire had awakened. They had invaded a world that had spent billions of years forging its inhabitants into living weapons, and those inhabitants had turned the Empire's fear of gravity into the ultimate defensive weapon. The war wasn't over, but its outcome was now certain. The only question was how much more the Empire would lose before accepting defeat. Lieutenant Sarah West never imagined her first time in space would be aboard a stolen alien warship. Yet here she stood on the bridge of the captured Draconid vessel, Swift Victory, renamed Humanity's Reply, leading Earth's first interstellar assault force. Engineering reports gravity drives are operational, her XO reported. All systems adapted for Earth-normal conditions. Sarah smiled. The Draconids' greatest mistake hadn't been underestimating human strength, it had been giving humans access to their technology. Within weeks, Earth's scientists had not just understood the alien tech, they'd improved it. All ships, this is command, she broadcast to the fleet of captured and modified vessels. Execute Operation Upward Bound. 20 ships, crewed by soldiers and astronauts who'd trained their entire lives under Earth's gravity, accelerated away from their home world. Their destination, the Draconid Empire's nearest colonial system. Aboard the retreating Eternal Dawn, High Admiral Zextral received the news with disbelief. They've mastered our gravity drive technology already? Impossible. Sir, Valthera interjected, preliminary analysis suggests they're not just using our technology, they've enhanced it. They're applying their understanding of high-gravity environments to improve efficiency by nearly 300%. The tactical display showed the human fleet moving with precision that shocked the Draconid observers. Free from the need for gravity compensation, Earth's forces were using the ship's full potential in ways the Empire had never considered. In the lead ship, Sarah reviewed their first target. The Draconids built their colonial worlds to mimic their standard gravity, she explained to her crew. They're about to learn why that was a mistake. The human fleet dropped out of FTL Drive near New Draconia, the Empire's proudest colonial achievement. The planet's artificial gravity generators maintained a comfortable 0.8 G environment across its surface. Sarah's voice carried across all channels, broadcasting in the Draconid language. This is Lieutenant Sarah West of Earth Forces. We're here to negotiate new terms for galactic cooperation. To demonstrate our sincerity, we're going to turn off your gravity generators. Panic erupted across New Draconia as the human fleet, using their modified gravity technology, systematically disabled the colonial world's artificial gravity system. The Draconid colonists, never having experienced anything but carefully regulated gravitational conditions, found themselves floating helplessly. A taste of what it's like when you can't handle gravity changes, Sarah transmitted. Imagine how we feel about you trying to invade our 2.3G world. Back on the Eternal Dawn, Zextral watched the tactical feeds in horror. They're not killing anyone, he realized. They're teaching us a lesson. The human fleet moved methodically through the Draconid colonial system, neutralizing military installations with precisely calculated gravitational attacks. Earth's forces, trained in zero-G combat but naturally adapted to high gravity, moved with devastating efficiency against the struggling Draconid defenders. The Council of Elders is demanding immediate action, Valthera reported, her scales shifting colors rapidly in distress. Our other colonies are panicking. If the humans can turn off our gravity systems at will, they can shut down our entire civilization, Zextral finished. Everything we've built assumes control over gravity, and they've turned that control against us. On Earth, General Williams watched the operation's progress with grim satisfaction. Send the diplomatic package, he ordered. The message reached every Draconid world simultaneously. Earth was offering peace, but with conditions. The Empire would acknowledge humanity's right to exist in their high-gravity environment. Moreover, they would open their technology to human improvement, particularly their gravity control systems. After all, the message concluded, who better to help you understand gravity than those who mastered living with it? Sarah's fleet held position above New Draconia, a pointed reminder of humanity's new capabilities. Her crew had started taking bets on how long the Empire would take to surrender. They thought gravity was their weakness to overcome, she mused, watching the colonial capital through the view screen. They never understood it was our strength to embrace. The response from the Council of Elders arrived faster than anyone expected. The Empire, facing the first serious defeat in its history, had little choice. They had gambled everything on the assumption that their technology could overcome the basic forces of nature and lost to a species that had evolved to thrive in conditions they considered impossible. As the formal surrender transmitted across space, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Send word to Earth. Phase 1 complete. The galaxy is about to learn some new lessons about gravity. 1 year after the failed invasion of Earth, the Galactic Council Chamber on New Terra, formerly New Draconia, hosted an unprecedented gathering. Representatives from 100 alien species watched as Dr. Sarah Chin, now Earth's ambassador to the reformed Draconid Empire, addressed the assembly. The fundamental mistake, she explained, standing comfortably in the chamber's Earth-normal gravity, wasn't in the technology. It was in the philosophy. The Empire tried to conquer gravity. We learned to dance with it. High Admiral Zextral, now serving as the Empire's chief liaison to Earth, shifted uncomfortably in his gravity-assisted suit. The past year had transformed him from a conqueror to a student, learning harsh lessons about the true nature of advancement. Our scientists, he admitted to the assembly, had created a civilization dependent on fighting natural forces. Humanity showed us a different path, adaptation over opposition. The changes across the galaxy had been dramatic. Earth's gravity-embracing technologies had revolutionized space travel, colonial development, and military doctrine. Ships designed to work with gravitational forces rather than against them used 80% less energy. Colonies built to embrace their planet's natural conditions proved more resilient and sustainable. In orbit above them, the new Earth Draconid Joint Defense Fleet demonstrated the synthesis of both civilizations' approaches. Ships moved with precision that would have seemed impossible a year ago, their crews, both human and Draconid, working in harmony with the forces around them. But the greatest change, Dr. Chun continued, hasn't been technological. It's been philosophical. The galaxy is finally asking the right question. What else have we been fighting that we should have been embracing? The implications reached far beyond gravity. Species that had been dismissed as primitive for their adaptation to extreme environments were being reevaluated. The very definition of advanced civilization was being rewritten. General Williams, watching from Earth via quantum link, smiled as he reviewed reports from across known space. Humanity's first year among the stars had sparked a renaissance of biological and technological innovation. The galaxy was learning that true advancement meant working with nature's forces, not against them. In a training facility on Mars, human instructors worked with Draconid special forces, teaching them to move and fight without relying on technological crutches. The Empire's finest warriors were learning what every human child knew instinctively, that gravity could be a friend rather than an enemy. The invasion of Earth failed, Zextral concluded to the assembly, because we didn't understand that living in a high-gravity world hadn't made humans primitive. It had made them strong in ways our technology couldn't match. We thought we were superior because we could avoid natural challenges. They were superior because they had mastered them. As the assembly concluded, Dr. Chin met privately with representatives from other, extreme, world species, beings who had evolved under incredible pressures, temperatures, or atmospheric conditions. Together, they began planning a new approach to galactic expansion, one that celebrated adaptation rather than standardization. A year ago, she told them, the Empire tried to invade Earth because they feared what we might become. They never imagined we would help them become something better themselves. Back on Earth, in the same war room where humanity had once prepared to defend itself, General Williams reviewed plans for the future. Joint human-Draconid colonies, deep space exploration missions, and scientific endeavors that combine the best of both civilizations' approaches. We didn't just win a war, he mused to his staff. We won the right to show the galaxy a better way forward. The final piece of the invasion fleet, the Eternal Dawn itself, had been transformed into a museum orbiting Earth. Its halls, once filled with the Empire's proudest warriors, now hosted students from across the galaxy, all coming to learn the lesson that had reshaped galactic civilization. True strength doesn't come from conquering nature's challenges. It comes from learning to thrive within them. As humanity stepped further into the galaxy, they carried this lesson with them. The species that had evolved on what the Empire once called a death world had become the galaxy's greatest teachers, showing that the forces others feared could become the greatest sources of strength. The gravity of that lesson would echo through the cosmos for generations to come.